Former Vice President Joe Biden is taking criticism from his fellow 2020 presidential candidates over his support for the Hyde Amendment. The original version of the Hyde Amendment was passed in 1976 and was one of the first major abortion restrictions to be signed into law after Roe v. Wade. The Hyde Amendment bans the use of federal funds to pay for abortions. The original amendment allowed an exception if the abortion would save the life of the woman. Later versions added exceptions in cases of rape or incest. Several 2020 Democratic candidates quickly took aim at Biden's position, tweeting their support for a repeal of the Hyde Amendment. They claim the rule disproportionately hurts the poor and minorities. But several of those same candidates voted to renew the rule. Last year, 8 candidates voted to pass an appropriations bill containing language similar to the Hyde Amendment, banning the use of federal funds for abortion. Of the candidates who were in Congress at the time, only Senator Bernie Sanders voted against it. In 1993, then Representative Sanders did vote for an appropriations bill that kept most of the original Hyde Amendment intact, but added in exemptions allowing federal money to be used in abortions in the case of rape or incest. Then Senator Joe Biden did not cast a vote on the bill. Joining me now from Des Moines, Iowa, is CBSN political contributor and Washington Post reporter Sean Sullivan. All right, Sean, so several candidates who are criticizing Joe Biden voted for bills containing the Hyde Amendment in the past, but is there a difference between those votes and Biden's active support for the measure?
Well, this certainly, Elaine, is a significant moment in this race, given the conversation that we're having nationally about abortion right now, given that we have seen a lot of these Democratic candidates speak out aggressively against a lot of states that are moving to curb abortion rights. And, this sort of exploded into the debate in this race yesterday. You had a number of candidates, virtually the vast majority of the field, coming out strongly in opposition to what the former vice president had said and the position he's taking out with regard to the Hyde Amendment. And that's a new development. We've seen at times these candidates articulate policy differences with the former vice president. We've seen them at times be critical of what he said, but we have not seen a moment like this where the vast majority of the field comes out swiftly and aggressively expressing its disagreement with him. So this is certainly something to watch in the coming days and weeks.
I also want to ask you about the upcoming Democratic debates. By CBS News' count, 19 candidates have qualified for the first set of Democratic debates. Candidates have until Wednesday, the 12th, to qualify. So who is at risk of missing out?
Yeah, we're getting down to the wire right now in terms of the deadline. One name to keep an eye on is Steve Bullock. He is the governor of Montana. He is the governor of a large state, but right now it looks like, according to reports, he might be at risk of missing this debate because of polling rules. So that's one name to watch. The other big thing that is sort of an uncertainty surrounding this whole process right now is which candidates are going to appear in the first debate, which candidates are going to appear in the second debate. A lot of these campaigns are sort of struggling to prepare for this debate because they don't know if they're going to be on the same stage with, say, Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or some of these other candidates. So that's the next big thing here. It's supposed to be random. Which candidates are going to have a chance to directly address other candidates and which candidates are going to have to sit back and watch. A lot of these candidates, I think at least a growing number right now, are trying to contrast themselves with former Vice President Joe Biden. But which candidates will have a chance to actually do that on the same stage as him, and which ones are going to have to do it in a separate debate, that remains to be seen as well. So a lot of questions right now, not only about who's going to be in this debate process, but who's actually going to have a chance to debate each other.
Well, on this week's episode of The Takeout, CBS News Chief Washington correspondent Major Garrett asked DNC Chair Tom Perez about the criticisms of the qualification methodology. Let's listen to that clip.
If you can't run an effective grassroots campaign in the year 2020, in today's era, you're not going to be able to win the presidency. And what our dual threshold has done is to give additional opportunity to candidates, because early in the process, Major, oftentimes the polling reflects name ID.
Right.
I've worked with three-quarters of these candidates, and they're spectacular. We have a world-class challenge having this kind of field. It's a deep field. And what we wanted to do is make sure that we had multiple opportunities where they can present their vision to the American people. And then, as it happens in every primary cycle, you've got to demonstrate progress.
So is that answer, Sean, going to satisfy any of the critics of the DNC?
I don't think it is. And I think what's safe to say, Elaine, is that no matter what, there are going to be activists, candidates, and campaigns that at the end of the day are not going to be happy with this process as it plays out. Nobody wants to be excluded from these debates, but there is also a sense in the Democratic Party that this cannot just be a free-for-all forever, and we cannot just have dozens of candidates on the same stage with each other, multiple debates. At some point, a lot of Democrats are saying they want to see this narrow. They want to focus on the candidates that are really doing well in the polls, that are showing that they can raise money. So that push and pull, that tug of war in the party right now, is making Tom Perez's job very, very difficult. And at every step of the way, it looks like no matter what he has done, there are people who are going to be critical of the decisions that he has made. So a very, very challenging and difficult spot for him to be in, to project fairness, but also give Democrats what they want in terms of being able to see the candidates that people are interested in right now.
Well, meantime, two candidates, Beto O'Rourke and Pete Buttigieg, are meeting with Stacey Abrams in Georgia this week. And I asked O'Rourke about his upcoming meeting last night. Here's what he said.
So Stacey Abrams is one of my all-time heroes. The way that she met a fraudulent election where the Secretary of State, the umpire, was also one of the contenders. The hundreds of thousands purged from the voter rolls, voting machines that didn't work, lines that stretched hours long. She really should be the governor of the state of Georgia right now. But the fact that after her loss, she used the attention that she had garnered, the respect that so many of us feel for her, to focus on voting rights and to make sure that everyone is included, every vote counts, and every voice is heard. She's somebody that we should all be listening to right now. So I'm going to meet her to listen and learn from her.
So, Sean, how should we understand these meetings that Stacey Abrams is having with these various candidates?
Well, in a couple of different ways. I mean, to start, Stacey Abrams is one of the most popular figures in the Democratic Party right now. I saw her deliver a speech earlier this year at an event where a lot of the presidential candidates were at. The applause that she received at that event was louder than a lot of the actual candidates running for president. We don't know what her future is going to be. She might herself be a presidential candidate at some point in this process. But if she's not, her endorsement is going to be one of the most potentially powerful of anybody in the Democratic Party. And what you're seeing is these candidates try to form relationships with her, try to form an open line of dialogue with her, try to be seen as somebody who cares about the issues that she cares about, whether it's voting rights, whether it's some of the other issues that she underscored when she ran in 2018. So right now you're seeing a lot of candidates say, hey, I am an ally of Stacey Abrams. I am a friend of Stacey Abrams. They want to project that. And again, at the end of the day, if she does not run and she decides to endorse a candidate, these candidates are clearly trying to make their pitch already now that they're the one that she should get behind. Because again, there are not many Democrats whose endorsements will be as powerful as Stacey Abrams if she does decide to endorse a candidate in this primary.
It's really such a fascinating dynamic to watch. All right, Sean Sullivan for us. Sean, thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.